Dust shimmered in the heat as two figures faced each other at the heart of the empty crossroads. The sun, merciless and white-hot, glared down on them, casting harsh shadows that stretched like fingers across the cracked earth. Silas, tall and silent, adjusted his battered hat, the leather worn thin from years under the sun. Across from him, Mara's eyes narrowed, her hand twitching above the handle of her weathered satchel, fingers itching for the familiar weight of her slingshot. Passers-by, if there were any brave enough to linger, kept their distance, sensing the tension boiling in the air like a storm about to break. A lone tumbleweed skittered between them, carried by a dry wind breaking the heavy silence. Mara spoke first, her voice low and steady. "You took my map." Silas shrugged, a smirk playing on his sunburned lips. "Found it fair and square." Mara's patience snapped like a brittle twig. In a flash, she drew her slingshot, a stone whistling through the heat toward Silas. He ducked just in time, sending up a spray of sand as he rolled to the side, producing the crumpled map from his coat. He tossed it to the ground between them. Mara advanced, snatched the map, and glared with fierce eyes. Silas tipped his hat in a gesture half mocking, half respectful. "Next time, try asking." Mara turned and strode away, the map clutched tight in her hand, the sun casting long, stretching shadows behind her. The crossroads, silent once more, waited patiently for the next story to unfold beneath the blazing sky. Sweat trickled down Finn's brow as he tore through tangled undergrowth, boots sinking deep into the mossy jungle floor. The ancient idol, its stone eyes glinting faintly in the dappled light, weighed heavy in his satchel. Behind him, guttural roars and snarls of wild jaguars echoed, closing in with terrifying speed. Vines whipped at Finn's arms and face, but he pressed on, heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. He leapt over a fallen log, landing inches from a venomous snake coiled in wait. Without hesitation, he vaulted sideways, narrowly avoiding its strike. The path ahead narrowed, choked by razor-sharp thorns that tore at his clothes and scraped his skin. Finn ducked low, scraping his knuckles against rough bark, but the idol remained safe. Suddenly a clearing appeared, a raging river, its waters swirling with hidden dangers beneath the surface. With no time to think, Finn plunged in, clutching the idol high above the waves. Behind him, the beasts hesitated at the water's edge, snarling in frustration but unwilling to follow. Gasping and shivering, Finn hauled himself onto the far bank, mud-streaked but triumphant. The idol was his, and the jungle's fury was finally behind him. Under neon city lights, a small robot named Pico beeped uncertainly. Its memory chip flickered. Home. Where was it? The city hummed with energy, but Pico felt alone and confused. Rolling past towering skyscrapers and bustling crowds, Pico scanned countless faces, searching desperately for a familiar signal. A street musician noticed the lost robot and smiled kindly. "Looking for something?" he asked gently. Pico projected a hologram, a cozy apartment, a smiling inventor, warm light spilling from windows. The musician frowned, recognizing the building immediately. "That's near the park," he said, pointing east with a nod. Hope sparked in Pico's sensors. Navigating through narrow alleyways, Pico dodged speeding bicycles and leapt carefully over puddles, following the directions with determination. At the park's edge, the apartment's windows glowed softly in the dusk. Pico's sensors pinged. Match found. The door creaked open. The inventor, surprised but overjoyed, knelt as Pico rolled inside. "Welcome home, Pico," she whispered, hugging her creation tightly. Safe and content, Pico's circuits warmed with happiness. The city outside bustled on, but Pico was finally home at last. Under the silver gaze of the moon, the museum's grand hall slept in deep silence. Tucked away in a forgotten corner, a dusty sketchbook lay open on a display stand, its pages yellowed with age. As the clock struck midnight, a gentle ripple of energy hummed through the air, stirring the stillness. The first pencil drawing, a tiny fox with a bushy tail, blinked its drawn eyes, stretched its delicate limbs, and leapt gracefully from the page onto the cold marble floor. One by one, sketches of birds, flowers, and swirling clouds peeled themselves free, filling the hall with soft laughter and fluttering wings. The fox padded curiously, sniffing at a painted vase, while the birds soared playfully among towering marble statues. Swirling clouds drifted beneath the stained glass dome, casting shifting shadows that danced across the walls. Time seemed to slow as the creatures explored their silent kingdom, a alive for just a few precious hours. When dawn's first light crept through the windows, the magical beings hurried back, settling quietly into their penciled forms, just as the guards began their rounds. The sketchbook sat innocently on its stand, but those who looked closely might notice a faint smudge of paw print on the marble floor, silent proof of a secret midnight adventure. At dusk, the city of Cogswell appeared ordinary. Lanterns flickered on, and chimneys puffed gentle clouds into the cool evening air. But as midnight's chime echoed through the silent streets, the true heart of the city awoke. Gears hidden beneath the cobblestones began to hum softly. Faces of clocks embedded in walls spun to life, their hands pointing to tasks only they understood. From shadowed alleys and quiet rooftops, brass-legged clocks marched forth, ticking in perfect unison. Some carried tiny hammers, others delicate brushes dipped in shimmering paint. Where a window pane was cracked, a clock paused, its hands whirling until the glass shimmered anew, flawless and clear. Roof tiles snapped neatly into line beneath the gentle nudge of a grandfather clock's steady frame. Even the smallest pocket watch lent a cog or spring when a door's hinge squeaked in protest. By dawn, every house gleamed as if freshly built, and the clocks retreated silently, their work unseen. The citizens awoke to flawless homes, never questioning the nightly miracle. Only the city's youngest child, peeking from his window, saw the clocks tip their faces in a secret, silent greeting before melting back into the shadows, waiting for the next midnight call. The clock struck midnight as the last few patrons lingered in the starlit cafe. Anna, tucked in a quiet corner with her sketchbook, sipped her coffee, lost in thought and the soft hum of distant city sounds. Across the room, Ben flipped through pages of his worn novel, glancing up just as Anna rose to leave. Their paths collided in the narrow aisle, sending her cup tumbling. Dark coffee splashed across the floor, spreading like a small, unexpected river at their feet. Anna gasped, cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Ben knelt beside her, napkins in hand, a gentle smile warming his face. "Midnight mishaps make the best stories," he said softly. Anna's laughter bubbled out, easing the sudden tension. Together they cleaned the spill, their hands brushing lightly, exchanging shy glances and quiet apologies. The barista soon appeared with 2 fresh cups on the house, a silent invitation. Settling at the same table, Anna and Ben shared their worlds, her sketches capturing the city's glowing nights, his stories weaving distant lands and adventures. Outside, the city lights shimmered like stars fallen to earth. Inside, time seemed to pause, wrapped in the quiet magic of connection. As their empty cups cooled, neither wanted to break the spell. 2 strangers, unexpectedly linked by spilled coffee and the gentle unfolding of a midnight encounter. The clock struck midnight as Lena and Marcus slipped silently through the iron gates, hearts pounding in unison. The mansion loomed ahead, silent and imposing, its dark windows like watchful eyes. They crept along ivy-choked walls, careful to avoid the pale moonlight that spilled across the gravel path. At last, they reached a hidden cellar door, cleverly concealed beneath a tangle of vines. Lena's nimble fingers danced expertly over the lock. After a tense moment, it clicked open. Dust swirled in the cool night air as they descended the creaking wooden steps. In the dim glow of their flashlights, ancient portraits glared down from the walls, their eyes seeming to follow every move. At the end of a narrow corridor, a massive steel vault awaited. Marcus produced a stethoscope, pressing it against the cold metal as Lena spun the dial with steady hands. Suddenly, a faint whirring echoed, gears turning, or perhaps something more sinister. The vault door slowly gave way, revealing shelves lined with velvet boxes. Lena's eyes widened at the glint of jewels nestled inside, but a low growl froze her in place. From the shadows, a large dog emerged, teeth bared and eyes fierce. Marcus quickly fished a treat from his pocket, tossing it gently toward the animal. The dog sniffed cautiously, then wagged its tail, relaxing. Lena grinned, scooping up a sparkling sapphire necklace. They slipped away into the night, treasures in hand, leaving behind only silent footprints and the faintest whisper of their daring midnight heist. The city's clock tower chimed midnight as thick fog rolled over empty, silent streets. High above, a masked figure perched on a rusted fire escape, their dark cloak blending seamlessly with the night. They called them Night Owl, though no one ever saw more than a fleeting silhouette or the glint of silver eyes reflecting moonlight. Tonight, a muffled cry echoed from a narrow alley below. Night Owl descended in silence, boots barely whispering against cold brick. Two shadowy figures loomed over a trembling shopkeeper, demanding his keys with harsh voices. Night Owl's hand flickered. Something small and round arced through the air, striking the ground with a sharp crack. A sudden burst of blinding light stunned the attackers, freezing them in place. In those precious seconds, Night Owl stepped forward, swift and sure, disarming both with practiced ease. The shopkeeper stared in disbelief as his assailants fled, tripping over their own feet in panic. Night Owl pressed a gloved finger to their lips, signaling for silence, then melted back into the shadows. The city would awaken to rumors and whispers, but only the rescued man knew the truth. Someone watched over the night, unseen but always near. Every night, as the village clock struck 12, strange things happened in Willowmere. Doors creaked open on their own, shadows danced along cobblestone streets, and whispers echoed from empty alleys. No one suspected the old clockmaker, Mr. Fenwick, who worked tirelessly in his candlelit shop, surrounded by gears and springs. One curious night, young Elsie stayed awake, watching the great clock tower from her window. As the hands aligned at midnight, a soft shimmer spread through the village square, like a gentle wave of light. Neighbors who had been grumpy all day suddenly awoke with laughter, and timid children found themselves brave enough to chase the night's breeze without fear. The baker's cat, usually aloof and distant, performed acrobatic leaps along the rooftops, as if filled with newfound energy. Elsie quietly tiptoed to the tower and found Mr. Fenwick carefully winding a silver key into the clock's heart. He smiled warmly, eyes twinkling with a secret joy. "A little magic keeps the village lively," he whispered softly. As dawn crept in, the spell slowly faded, but hope and warmth lingered in the air. Elsie promised to keep the secret safe, cherishing the midnight transformations that made Willowmere truly extraordinary. Rain hammered the iron roof of the old train station, drumming a nervous rhythm over the muted voices inside. Anna clutched her umbrella and suitcase, her fingers cold despite the summer air. Across from her, Sam shifted his weight, hands shoved deep in his coat pockets, eyes fixed on the yellow line by the tracks. The announcement echoed, "Train 42, departing in 5 minutes." Anna's throat tightened. Sam finally looked up, his gaze searching hers. Words caught somewhere between apology and hope. "You'll write?" he asked, his voice barely above the rain. Anna's smile trembled. "Every week. Don't forget me, okay?" Sam shook his head, rainwater dripping from his hair. "Never." The train's headlights pierced the mist, brakes screeching as it slowed. Anna stepped forward, wrapping Sam in a quick, desperate embrace. Their memories, late-night talks, laughter in the park, whispered dreams, hung between them, heavy and unspoken. The conductor called for boarding. Anna hesitated, then turned, suitcase rolling behind her. Sam watched as she disappeared into the carriage, the rain swallowing her silhouette. The train pulled away, leaving Sam alone on the platform, heart echoing the rhythm of the falling rain. Thunder rolled through the city as rain hammered the empty streets, drumming a relentless rhythm on rooftops and pavement alike. Shadows stretched long beneath flickering streetlights, casting eerie shapes that danced with the wind. In this downpour, a gray tabby named Nimbus slinked carefully through puddles, balancing a small, battered briefcase in his mouth. His fur was soaked and matted, but his golden eyes remained sharp and fixed on the glowing window of an old bakery nestled between shuttered shops. Inside, a figure waited patiently, silhouetted against the warm, inviting light. With a nimble leap, Nimbus landed softly on the windowsill and tapped the glass gently with his paw. The window slid open just enough for the briefcase to be slipped inside. The figure, a woman wrapped in a red scarf, smiled, her eyes shining with quiet gratitude. She reached out, scratching Nimbus gently behind the ears, then vanished swiftly into the shadows of the bakery's interior. Nimbus turned silently, disappearing into the rain-soaked night. No one saw the exchange. No one heard the soft thud of paws on wet stone. By morning, the rain had stopped. The city awoke to fresh puddles and glistening streets, and only a single paw print remained beneath the bakery window, a silent mark of a mission completed. In the bustling kitchen of Cafe Bite, Chef Robo 9000 was eager to impress with its first solo dinner service. Its programming was flawless, or so everyone believed. The first recipe on the menu, spaghetti. The instructions read, boil water. Robo 9000 poured water into a kettle, fetched a thermometer, and waited patiently for exactly 100 degrees Celsius. Next step, add a pinch of salt. Robo 9000 scanned the pantry, then carefully placed an entire salt shaker, pinchers and all, into the pot. The recipe continued. Stir occasionally. Robo 9000 began spinning in circles, arms flailing wildly, while the spaghetti remained untouched in its package. For the sauce, the instructions said, crush tomatoes. Robo 9000 interpreted this as a wrestling match, slamming tomatoes onto the floor with mechanical precision, splattering red everywhere. At last, the recipe read, serve hot. Robo 9000 set the plates in front of the guests, who were greeted by a steaming kettle, a salty mess, and a floor covered in tomato carnage. The diners stared in disbelief, then burst into laughter, while Robo 9000 beamed proudly, bon appetit! The rain drummed a steady rhythm on the cracked pavement, painting the city in silver streaks that shimmered under the flickering streetlights. Detective Lane hunched deeper into his worn coat, eyes narrowed against the relentless downpour. He'd been trailing the faint whispers of footsteps through the maze of shadowed alleys, guided only by the flicker of movement and the glint of something forgotten in the night. The report was unusual. A missing umbrella, last seen twirling in the hands of a mysterious stranger. Lane's instincts prickled with unease. In this city, even something as simple as an umbrella could hide secrets darker than the storm. He pressed on, boots splashing through puddles, heart thumping in sync with the falling rain. At the alley's end, a shadow danced beneath a flickering lamp, spinning the lost umbrella like a maestro's baton, casting eerie shapes on the wet walls. Lane stepped forward, breath misting in the cold air. Looking for this? The stranger grinned, eyes reflecting neon and night, a challenge and a secret all at once. Lane reached out, fingers brushing the rain-soaked fabric. The umbrella snapped open with a sharp click, shielding them both from the storm's fury. For a fleeting moment, the city's secrets paused, suspended in the hush beneath the canopy. Lane smiled faintly. Mystery solved, for now. The midday sun scorched the cracked earth as Eli trudged into the silent town, his worn boots kicking up lazy swirls of dust that danced in the heavy air. Across the street, beneath the faded, creaking sign of the old saloon, stood his longtime rival, Carter, eyes narrowed and muscles tense. The town seemed to hold its breath. Shutters creaked, and curious eyes peeked from behind weathered curtains, watching the inevitable unfold. Neither man spoke a word. The only sounds were the sigh of the dry wind and the distant cry of a hawk circling high above. Eli's hand hovered near his hip, fingers twinged slightly, while Carter's hand twitched in response, ready to strike. Years of grudges, betrayals, and broken promises shimmered between them like heat waves rising from the sun-baked ground. Suddenly, with a sharp, lightning-fast movement, Carter's hand darted downward. Eli's reflexes, sharpened by countless past encounters, matched the speed perfectly. In a heartbeat, the tense silence shattered. Carter's hat tumbled to the dusty ground as Eli's shot rang out, carving a clean line in the dirt just inches from Carter's boots. Carter froze, eyes wide with shock, then slowly raised his hands in surrender. The standoff was over. Eli tipped his hat in a silent gesture of respect, turned without a backward glance, and vanished into the shimmering haze of heat and dust, leaving behind only footprints and the fading tension of a long-awaited reckoning. As the sun dipped behind the distant red hills, a lonely whistle echoed through the vast golden plains. The Midnight Express thundered along its rails, unaware of the shadows lurking near the old cottonwood grove. 3 figures crouched low, faces hidden beneath battered hats, eyes fixed on the approaching locomotive. May, the sharp-eyed leader, gave a subtle nod. Jesse, nimble and silent, leapt first, landing atop the rattling freight car. Boone followed, rope in hand, boots barely making a sound on the wooden ties. With practiced ease, they crept toward the mail car, hearts pounding in unison with the iron wheels. May's gloved hand picked the lock. Inside, stacks of cash and glittering jewelry awaited. Jesse gathered the loot swiftly, while Boone kept watch, revolver drawn, eyes scanning the horizon. Suddenly, a shout rang out. The conductor had spotted movement. Time froze. May signaled, and the trio vanished through the roof hatch just as the train roared over the river bridge. They tumbled down the embankment, breathless but grinning, the spoils of their daring heist clutched tight as dusk swallowed their tracks and the night embraced their escape. In a quiet town brimming with ordinary days, 9-year-old Eli spent hours tinkering in his father's cluttered garage. He wasn't searching for anything special, just escaping chores and the relentless drone of summer heat. His small hands wandered over dusty jars, tangled wires, and forgotten gadgets left behind by his father's old experiments. By pure chance, he connected a copper coil to a cracked radio, then fastened a loose battery with a rubber band. Suddenly, a faint blue spark leaped between the wires. The radio, silent for years, crackled to life. But instead of music, Eli heard voices. Conversations from across the street, whispers from next door, even faint laughter drifting from the park. He'd built a device that picked up nearby sounds, clear as day. Eli's heart thumped with wild excitement. He ran inside, breathless, to show his dad the unexpected invention. Word spread quickly, drawing curious neighbors and eventually the attention of scientists intrigued by the device's potential. Eli's accidental creation opened doors to new ways of listening and connecting people. All it took was a child's daydream, a little curiosity, and a single spark. Eli pressed his nose to the foggy window of the clockmaker's shop. Gears spun and tiny bells chimed, drawing him inside like a gentle call. The workshop glowed with warm golden light, casting long shadows that danced playfully along the walls. Clocks of every size ticked and talked, their faces carved with delicate smiles that seemed almost alive. In the center, the old clockmaker hunched over a curious contraption, a pocket watch shimmering with an otherworldly blue light. "Curious, aren't you?" the clockmaker said, his eyes twinkling behind round spectacles. "Would you like to see how time is woven?" Eli nodded eagerly, his heart pounding with excitement. The clockmaker carefully handed him the glowing watch. The moment Eli touched it, he was swept into a swirling world of cogs and floating numbers. He soared above silver rivers that sparkled like stardust and leapt across bridges made of ticking hands, each step echoing with a soft chime. Time twisted and turned around him, revealing secrets hidden in every tick. When he finally returned, the clockmaker smiled knowingly. "Every clock holds a secret world. You just have to look close enough." Eli tucked the magical watch into his pocket, his mind buzzing with wonder, knowing he'd discovered marvels hidden in plain sight. From that day on, time would never feel quite the same again. At the edge of a gray city, a lonely boy named Eli wandered into a forgotten courtyard, drawn by the faint ticking of hidden gears beneath cracked stone. There, beneath tangled vines and rusted arches, stood a garden unlike any other. Brass roses shimmered softly in the sunlight, and clockwork birds perched on silvery branches, their feathers spun from copper and gold, glinting with every breeze. When Eli reached out hesitantly, a small bird whirred to life, its jeweled eyes blinking curiously as tiny gears clicked inside. With a gentle, precise motion, it hopped onto his shoulder, chirping a delicate melody that echoed through the stillness like a secret song. One by one, the other birds awakened, filling the air with a symphony of mechanical song and fluttering wings. Eli laughed aloud, his loneliness melting away as the garden sparkled around him, alive with wonder. Each visit, he carefully wound their tiny keys and listened to their stories, discovering marvels he never imagined. The garden's magic was simple, an invitation to believe in extraordinary things hidden in plain sight. In this place of ticking hearts and spinning wings, Eli learned that wonder could bloom wherever someone cared enough to notice and believe. Every night, when silence settled over the old house, Emily tiptoed up the creaky stairs to the attic. She wasn't afraid. Instead, she brought her flashlight and a soft, warm blanket, her small hands steady despite the shadows. There, drifting near the dusty window, was a gentle ghost with sad, hollow eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 untold stories. He never spoke but watched her with longing, as if waiting for something lost long ago. One night, Emily offered him a faded photograph she'd found in a forgotten trunk, a picture of a boy hugging a dog in front of the same attic window, both smiling in a moment frozen in time. The ghost's eyes brightened, shimmering with a flicker of hope. Emily smiled softly and said, "I think someone misses you." The ghost reached out, his translucent hand passing through the photo, and the air around them shimmered with quiet magic. A faint bark echoed through the stillness, and suddenly a spectral dog appeared, tail wagging joyfully. The boy's ghost knelt, embracing his long-lost friend with a warmth that filled the room. Light poured into the attic as the ghost and dog faded together, peace finally found after years of waiting. Emily stood alone, but the attic felt lighter, warmer, as if a heavy weight had lifted. She carefully tucked the photograph into her pocket, knowing she'd helped someone find their way home at last. In a cluttered attic, 12-year-old Mina tinkered with wires and glass, piecing together her greatest invention, a lamp that could shine in every color of the rainbow. The world outside was full of shadows, and Mina believed her lamp could brighten even the darkest corners. When she switched it on, the room glowed with hues that danced on the walls, shifting gently from red to violet. Neighbors gathered, marveling at the spectacle, their faces lit with wonder. Yet, as applause filled the air, Mina's smile faded. What did it truly mean to invent something beautiful? Was it enough to dazzle eyes, or should it do more? That night, Mina wandered through her village, lamp in hand, the soft glow guiding her steps. She noticed an elderly man struggling to read in the dim light of his small home. Quietly, she placed the lamp by his side. His eyes widened, the pages coming alive under the vibrant glow. The next day, Mina found her lamp illuminating a classroom, children studying eagerly beneath its warm, colorful light. Mina realized invention was not just about brilliance or fame, but about lighting the way for others. Her question was answered, not by applause, but by the quiet joy her lamp brought to those in need. Ben lingered after school, his footsteps echoing softly through the old library's aisles. He loved the quiet, the smell of ancient paper, and the way the afternoon light filtered through stained glass windows. Today, a peculiar book caught his eye, its spine faded, the title completely unreadable. Curious, Ben carefully slid it from the shelf. As he did, a folded slip of paper fluttered out, landing silently at his feet. He bent down and unfolded it, revealing a jumble of numbers and letters arranged in a strange pattern. Ben's heart raced. He remembered last week's math class, where Mrs. Green had taught them about ciphers and secret codes. Excited, he grabbed a scrap of notebook paper and began scribbling, trying a simple shift cipher. Each number corresponded to a letter. Slowly, a word formed. Clock. Ben's gaze darted to the tall grandfather clock standing in the corner. He hurried over and carefully peered behind it. Taped to the back was another note. Well done. The adventure begins with curiosity. Ben grinned, his pulse thumping with excitement. The library, once just a quiet refuge, now brimmed with hidden secrets. He tucked the note into his pocket, knowing he'd return tomorrow, ready to uncover whatever mysteries waited patiently among the dusty bookshelves. Ellie was exploring her grandmother's attic when she stumbled upon an old, brass key glinting beneath a pile of dusty books. Its surface shimmered with swirling patterns, unlike any key she'd seen before. Curious and excited, she carefully picked it up and slipped it into her pocket. Quietly, she tiptoed through the creaky hallway, her heart pounding with anticipation. In the far corner, hidden behind a faded tapestry, Ellie discovered a tiny wooden door she'd never noticed before. Her hands trembled as she fit the key into the lock. It turned smoothly with a soft click, and the door swung open to reveal a garden bursting with colors brighter than any rainbow she had ever imagined. Butterflies danced gracefully in the air, and flowers seemed to whisper secrets carried on the gentle breeze. Ellie stepped inside, feeling the soft grass tickle her toes. Each step brought a new surprise. A talking cat with sparkling emerald eyes, a gentle breeze that played sweet melodies, and sparkling streams that giggled as they flowed over smooth stones. Ellie laughed with pure joy, knowing she had found a magical world where every day could be a new adventure. Whenever she missed the magic of that place, she would return to the attic, key in hand, ready to unlock wonder and delight once more. Ella pressed her nose against the frosted glass, watching the world outside shimmer in white. On the mantel sat her favorite treasure, a delicate snow globe, its tiny village aglow with painted lights and miniature figures frozen in joyful scenes. She shook it gently, whispering, "I wish for someone to share this magic with." Swirling flakes danced over the miniature town, sparkling like stars caught in a winter night. As the last flake settled, a soft knock sounded at the door. Startled, Ella opened it to find a boy her age, cheeks rosy from the cold, holding a lopsided snowman cookie wrapped in wax paper. "I just moved in," he said shyly. "Mom said I should say hello." Ella grinned, inviting him inside. They sat by the fire, sharing cookies and laughter, their breath warming the chilly room. Soon, another knock. The twins from next door, arms full of homemade scarves and mittens. One by one, the room filled with neighbors young and old, drawn by the warmth and kindness inside. Ella's heart soared as stories and smiles filled the air, weaving a tapestry of new friendships. Later, she glanced at the snow globe. The tiny village glowed brighter than ever, as if alive with the joy they had created. Ella realized her simple wish had brought a world of friendship and magic right to her doorstep. On a rainy afternoon, Mia discovered an old paintbrush hidden in her grandmother's attic. Its handle shimmered with a strange golden light, almost as if it whispered her name softly. Curiosity tugged at her heart, so she carefully dipped the brush into a jar of bright blue paint and swept it across a blank page. To her astonishment, a small bluebird fluttered off the paper, chirping merrily as it soared around the dimly lit room. Her heart pounding with excitement, Mia painted a lush green tree, and within moments its branches stretched out, leaves rustling in a gentle, unseen breeze. With each stroke, her creations sprang to vibrant life, filling the attic with color, sound, and wonder. She painted a playful puppy that wagged its tail, a sparkling pond that shimmered under the attic's light, even a brilliant rainbow that arched gracefully above her head. As the room transformed into a living masterpiece, Mia realized the brush's secret. It brought imagination to life, one magical stroke at a time. That rainy day became the most enchanting of her life, where every dream she painted danced before her eyes, real and full of joy. Lucy wiped dust from the attic's oldest trunk, her heart beating faster as she pried the lid open. Inside, beneath yellowed letters, she found a brittle parchment. Unfolding it revealed a hand-drawn map marked with winding trails and a bright red X. Ignoring the cobwebs above, Lucy tiptoed downstairs and slipped outside, map clutched tight. Each step she took matched a turn on the map, leading her behind the garden shed. There, buried shallowly, she unearthed a tiny box. Inside, a silver locket shimmered, a secret long forgotten found at last. Under the ancient stone bridge, where silver moonlight danced across the river's ripples, sat a solitary toad. His back was mottled with emerald and gold, eyes glinting with silent wisdom that seemed to pierce the darkness. Each night, as the clock struck 12, he took his place atop the central arch, watching the sleepy village dissolve into shadow and silence. Few noticed the toad, but those who did often shivered, sensing something uncanny in his stillness, as if he belonged to another realm. The legend whispered that the bridge keeper knew every secret carried by the current, every wish murmured into the night breeze. When a lost traveler approached, drawn by the bridge's faint, otherworldly glow, the toad would croak softly, a sound deep and resonant, echoing through the cool air. If the traveler listened closely, they'd hear a riddle woven in his song, a puzzle wrapped in mystery. Solve it, and the bridge would shimmer, opening the path to hidden wonders beyond imagination. Fail, and the arches would remain silent stone, secrets locked tight beneath the river's endless flow. Night after night, the toad guarded mysteries too old for words, a sentinel cloaked in moonlight, forever waiting for those brave enough to seek the unknown. Every night, cookies mysteriously vanished from the family kitchen. Lily, a curious 7-year-old, noticed tiny crumbs forming a trail from the counter all the way to the back door. Determined to catch the midnight cookie thief, she carefully devised a clever plan. That evening, Lily placed her best batch of chocolate chip cookies on the counter, but secretly sprinkled them with a harmless, bright blue food dye. Then she hid quietly behind the pantry door, clutching her small flashlight tightly. At exactly midnight, soft footsteps crept across the wooden floor. A shadowy figure appeared, reaching out to grab the cookies and stuffing them eagerly into his mouth. Lily's heart pounded as she waited silently. Just as the figure turned to sneak away, she flicked on her flashlight and shouted, "Stop right there." The figure froze and slowly turned around. To Lily's surprise, it was her older brother Max, his lips and teeth stained a vivid blue from the dyed cookies. He looked caught and sheepishly grinned. "I just couldn't resist the cookies," he admitted with a laugh. Lily giggled and said, "Next time, just ask me for a cookie." From that night forward, Max joined Lily for their secret midnight snack sessions. The cookies only disappeared with permission, and the midnight cookie thief was not only outsmarted but also welcomed into a new sweet family tradition. Under a silver moon, the backyard was unusually quiet. In the shadows, a determined band of animals gathered. Max the clever raccoon, Bella the swift squirrel, and Toby the loyal dog. Their mission was clear: retrieve their beloved treat jars, stolen from the kitchen by a sneaky alley cat named Whiskers. Max carefully mapped out the route, his nimble paws ready for action. Bella zipped up the fence, scouting ahead, her bushy tail flicking with excitement and alertness. Toby, strong and silent, waited patiently by the back door, his nose twitching at the faint scent of peanut butter. Moving with silent precision, Max slipped through the slightly open window. Bella signaled from above, watching Whiskers nap atop the refrigerator, unaware of the plan unfolding below. With a subtle nod, Max nudged the treat jars toward Toby, who caught them gently in his mouth without making a sound. Suddenly, Whiskers stirred, sensing something amiss. Bella quickly dropped a walnut, distracting the cat just long enough for the team to escape unnoticed. Outside, safe under the twinkling stars, the animals shared their hard-earned victory and the sweet treats. Their friendship, courage, and the taste of success made the night truly unforgettable. Ellie always looked forward to the days when the school bell didn't ring. But this year, something odd happened. Her family calendar vanished without a trace. For weeks, she watched her classmates disappear for a day, then return with stories of grand adventures, sledding down invisible hills, building forts in the living room, or baking treats with grandparents. Ellie's curiosity grew stronger each day. One chilly evening, she crept quietly into the attic, searching for the missing calendar among dusty boxes and forgotten trunks. Instead, she found a weathered box labeled Ellie's Firsts. Inside, she uncovered old drawings of snowmen, sunflowers, and birthday cakes. Each picture was carefully marked with a date, days she remembered as special, even though school was closed. Ellie realized the skip days weren't random. They were woven from memories and magic, passed down by her family like a secret tradition. She didn't need a calendar to know when to celebrate. Filled with warmth, she ran downstairs, heart full, ready to create her own secret day, one to remember, just because. In the bustling town of Willowbrook, Marvin the Wizard was famous for two things: his oversized spectacles and his knack for magical blunders. One sunny afternoon, Marvin decided to enchant his shoes for speed. He mumbled an incantation, but tripped over his own feet, sending a cascade of sparks everywhere. Before he could blink, his worn-out boots had vanished, and in their place sat two plump sandwiches, layered with lettuce, cheese, and a hint of tomato. "Well, this is odd," Marvin muttered, poking one with his wand. Suddenly, the sandwiches began to speak. "Oi! Watch the crust!" scolded the left one. "Have you any mustard?" inquired the right, adjusting its pickle hat. Marvin stared, wide-eyed, as his new footwear began to argue about who had the better filling and which one was more delicious. He tried to reverse the spell, but only succeeded in giving them hats made of pickles and a dash of extra mayo. The townsfolk gathered, laughing as Marvin tiptoed down the street, his sandwiches chatting with each step, debating the merits of rye versus sourdough. Marvin sighed, realizing that in Willowbrook, even a simple walk could turn into a mouth-watering, magical adventure. The old library was a maze, its shelves winding like secret corridors filled with whispered stories. On a rainy afternoon, Anna wandered deeper than usual, searching for a beloved novel she hadn't seen in years. Around a corner, she nearly collided with Ben, who was balancing a tall stack of books. They both apologized, then laughed at the coincidence. "Looking for something special?" Ben asked, brushing rain from his jacket. Anna described her favorite title, and his eyes lit up. He loved it too, quoting a line that made her smile. They settled on the worn carpet between towering shelves, swapping stories about characters who felt like old friends. Time slipped away as they recommended books, debated endings, and shared quiet smiles. The storm outside faded, but neither noticed. Finally, Ben offered her a copy of a book she'd never read but had always wanted to. Anna accepted, promising to return it next week. As they parted, Anna glanced back, her heart lighter than before. She realized she was already looking forward to their next chance meeting among the stacks, where stories weren't the only things waiting to be discovered. In a quiet workshop at the edge of town, a lonely robot named Pixel powered up each day, performing simple tasks and watching the world pass by through a dusty window. Pixel had never known companionship, only the gentle hum of machines and the steady rhythm of its own circuits. One rainy afternoon, a small, wet puppy appeared at the window, shivering and lost, its big eyes filled with fear. Pixel hesitated, unsure what to do, then carefully opened the door, inviting the puppy inside. The puppy wagged its tail, circling Pixel with excited yips and playful barks. Pixel, still uncertain, extended a metal hand, which the puppy eagerly licked, its warm tongue surprising the cold robot. Something sparked inside Pixel, a new warmth, unfamiliar yet comforting, spreading through its core. The two spent hours exploring the workshop together, the puppy chasing bouncing screws while Pixel tried to mimic its joyful leaps and playful bounds. At night, Pixel fashioned a cozy bed from spare wires and soft cloth scraps, watching the puppy curl up and finally relax, safe and at peace. For the first time, Pixel felt a sense of purpose beyond programming and routine. As dawn broke, casting golden light through the window, Pixel realized friendship wasn't something you were built for. It was something you discovered, sometimes in the most unexpected places. In the heart of an emerald forest, a small squirrel named Maple scurried along a mossy branch. Her world was usually peaceful, filled with the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft chirping of birds. But today, a sharp-eyed fox prowled nearby, its sleek body moving silently through the underbrush. With nowhere to hide and danger closing in, Maple's tiny heart raced with fear. Suddenly, her paw brushed against a cold, unfamiliar object, an old camera left behind by a careless hiker. Intrigued, she nudged it gently, peering through the glass lens. The fox crept closer, eyes locked on Maple, muscles tensed to pounce. Thinking quickly, she pushed the camera so it dangled by its strap, swinging wildly in the breeze. Sunlight caught the lens, casting a dazzling glint that flashed across the shadowy undergrowth. The fox paused, momentarily distracted by the sudden sparkle and flicker of light. Seizing her chance, Maple darted behind the swinging camera and leapt nimbly to a higher branch. The fox, confused and irritated by the flickering light, lost sight of her completely and eventually wandered away, tail twitching in frustration. Safe at last, Maple chittered softly with relief, grateful for the strange device that had turned the tables and saved her life in the dense forest. The city clock struck midnight as Sylvie perched on the museum's rooftop, eyes gleaming beneath her hood. With a silent leap, she slipped through a skylight, landing on velvet paws. Below, a shimmering web of red lasers guarded her prize, the jade tiger mask, rumored to grant wisdom to its wearer. Sylvie drew a deep breath, studying the crisscrossing beams. Timing was everything. She dropped a marble. It rolled, triggering a cluster of lasers. She grinned. Every system had a rhythm, a pattern to exploit. With feline grace, she arched her back and slid between beams, twisting, pausing, darting forward. Sweat beaded on her brow as she hung upside down by her knees, inching closer to the pedestal. One final leap and she was there, heart pounding fiercely. She swapped the mask for a weighted pouch, holding her breath as the sensors stayed silent. Mask in hand, she retraced her steps, muscles burning with effort. At the skylight, Sylvie paused, raising the mask to her face. For a moment, ancient eyes met hers in the moonlight, as if sharing secrets. Then she vanished into the night, leaving only the whisper of a legend behind. At the first blush of dawn, the chirping woods were alive with anticipation. Every year, as the mist curled between the branches and the first light painted the sky, birds gathered for the legendary Dawn Song Contest. Finch, the smallest competitor, fluttered nervously on his twig, his tiny heart racing. Above him, proud Robin puffed his chest, ready to dazzle the crowd with his booming voice. Blue Jay, with feathers shimmering in the early light, rehearsed her trills in secret, perfecting every note. As the sun peeked over the horizon, casting golden rays through the leaves, the contest began. Robin's voice soared, bold and clear, echoing through the woods like thunder. Blue Jay followed, weaving intricate melodies that danced on the breeze, enchanting every listener. Finch waited, heart pounding, until the woods fell completely silent. Then, with a deep breath, he sang. His song was gentle, soft as dew on grass, but filled with hope and quiet strength. Each note whispered stories of tiny victories, hidden dreams, and the courage to be oneself. The audience hushed, enchanted by the purity of his voice. When Finch finished, a hush lingered, then erupted into warm applause. Judges nodded thoughtfully, wings fluttered in approval, and Finch was crowned champion. In the chirping woods, it was not the loudest or fanciest song that won, but the truest and most heartfelt. Elena found the dusty camera in her grandmother's attic, its leather strap cracked with age and the metal body dulled by time. She brought it home, charmed by its antique design and the faint scent of old leather. That night, curious, Elena snapped a photo of her living room. When the picture developed, she gasped. A faint, translucent figure hovered by her grandfather's chair, a woman in a flowing dress, her eyes full of longing and sorrow. Each photo Elena took unveiled more: a little boy clutching a wooden toy, a man in uniform tipping his hat, a family gathered around a birthday cake. None were alive now, but their stories lingered in the faded wallpaper, the creaking floorboards, and the soft shadows cast by the evening light. Elena realized the camera didn't just capture images, it revealed echoes of forgotten lives trapped in time. Driven by curiosity and a growing sense of connection, she researched the house's past, matching faces to stories in old newspapers, letters, and diaries. With each discovery, the spirits in her photos seemed to grow more peaceful, their outlines softer, their expressions less mournful, until finally the camera produced only empty rooms, silent, their tales finally told and laid to rest. Under the shimmering glass dome of the Galactic Library, Lyra and Jax crept silently through the endless aisles. Their boots made no sound on the gravity-dampened floor, each step measured and careful. Lyra's heart hammered wildly as she eyed the security drones gliding overhead, their lenses glowing in eerie blue. Jax flashed a confident grin and tapped a tiny device against the nearest terminal, freezing the patrol pattern for exactly 60 seconds. In a hidden alcove, concealed behind a shifting holographic panel, sat their prize, the Forbidden Codex of Orin, rumored to hold secrets from a vanished civilization lost to time. Lyra reached out, hesitating as the book's cover softly with strange alien symbols. She slipped it carefully into her satchel, the material humming faintly against her side. Suddenly, a silent alarm shimmered red on Jax's wristband. They dashed forward, weaving frantically through shelves filled with unreadable volumes, evading a sudden swarm of security drones closing in fast. At the exit, Jax tossed a decoy sphere, filling the dome with swirling illusions that confused their pursuers. The friends burst into the cool night air, breathless and triumphant, the codex glowing softly in the darkness between them. Tonight, forbidden knowledge was stolen, and fate quietly shifted forever. In a forgotten corner of the world, nestled between mossy hills and ancient trees, stood a peculiar little shop. Its windows flickered with warm golden light, and inside, the last clockmaker, Old Marrow, worked tirelessly. His weathered hands danced among brass gears and silver springs, crafting timepieces that never seemed to age or falter. But beneath his sturdy workbench, hidden by a tapestry of countless ticking clocks, lay a secret trapdoor. Every midnight, Marrow slipped quietly below, winding down spiral stairs carved from old wood into a city of cogs and wheels. Lanterns glowed softly from gear-shaped windows, and tiny folk bustled along winding bridges, their laughter echoing with the chime of every hour. This was Gearnest, a secret city powered by the great heart gear, which Marrow alone kept ticking with care. One stormy night, as thunder rumbled and rain lashed the windows, a crucial gear slipped loose, threatening to halt the city forever. With steady hands and a calm heart, Marrow mended the heart gear just as dawn broke. Above, clocks chimed in perfect harmony. Below, Gearnest thrummed with life, safe for another day, its secret ticking on, hidden from the waking world.